You're welcome. I'm so excited. And this is going to be such a fun meeting. And again, you are the first in our amazing space of podcasting for this year. And we just are thrilled
Hello.
that you gave us the opportunity and your special time. So we hope that the guests learn a lot. And we hope that everyone walk away with such a thrilled view of your gifts and talents.
Thank you so much. I feel like I'm always learning, like you had mentioned. I do feel like I'm always learning and trying to pick up new skills, and I don't feel like I'm a master or any kind of teacher of anything. So this is a new perspective for me to kind of be interviewed and ask questions, and I have been doing it for a long time. So I do have some experience to share. So thank you again. Yeah, I'm excited.
That's great. And we're excited. And Tyrone seems to have been in the matrix. Hopefully he'll be on here pretty steady and we'll
Yeah.
go forward with it.
Okay.
And we're talking about topics that is critical for navigating the workplace, but often overlooked. And emotional intelligence is a really deep dive thinking emotional subject.
Yes.
And some people call it IE.
Yeah.
It's all about understanding and managing emotions, both your own and the impact of others when you're in the presence and navigating to build better relationships and communicate effectively and even boost your careers, depending on how well you can manage those
Yeah,
elements.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm a little bit spoiled because working for myself, I'm not really any longer in the workplace, like traditional, most people are having to kind of interact with complete strangers or um, bosses and a little bit more formal relationships, which can be maybe more difficult to um, make those connections, those emotional connections in a professional environment.
That's
So,
right. And we're definitely going to dive more into that. I definitely appreciate you sharing that because one of the things we're going to be asking you about is the transition to this space that you're in now. So,
oh yeah.
and Renetta's going to be posting her questions. If she can ask them, I would allow her to do that. But if she definitely have a question, Renetta, if you want to put it in the chat, I'll bring it forward. Or you can speak through the mic if you do have a moment. I know you mentioned we want to try to use the chat as we go forward.
Yeah, and I can see the chat right here too if it pops up in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was looking over some of your questions in the email, and do you want me to just kind of explain who I am and how I got started?
That's definitely what we want. We
Okay.
definitely want to give you that opportunity. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm Angela. I'm from Wichita, Kansas, and out of high school, in high school, I was taking some college courses, some business courses, and just kind of deciding what I wanted to do with my life. There was a community college there attached to my high school, so we were able to take those courses, which I think was really helpful. But it just felt a little dry, a little I didn't feel a lot of passion for it. And my real passion, or what I was mostly curious about, especially at that age, was health and how the body works. I wouldn't say an athlete, but I played sports. I played soccer. I really loved dancing. And so I was training for some like fitness competitions, doing lots of like protein, trying to build muscle and stuff like that. And um, ended up going to school for massage. It was kind of just between massage or personal training. I wanted to do something faster before going to a 4-year college, because I didn't know what I wanted to study. There's too many options, and just wanted to make a little more than minimum wage right out of high school. So, massage was the one that I chose. And I was so fortunate to find the school that I did. I went to a school in New Mexico. It was called the New Mexico School of Natural Therapeutics. And I was introduced to a whole different perspective on health that I had never been exposed to before. And we talked a lot about herbs as medicine and nutrition, nutritional healing, and things like that, and how all these toxins and things in the environment really affect your body and your mood and your emotions. And at first I thought, this is silly. These people are crazy. This is way too much, way too out there. And as I started to kind of like experiment with taking these things out of my diet, or getting some of these kind of toxins out of my body, and changing my lifestyle a little bit, I noticed that it was having a positive impact. And I have just been obsessed with learning as much as I can about these kinds of topics ever since then. Sorry, that was a long explanation, but
Well, that's good because
yeah.
it's so important to learn that there's things that we can do to enhance our livelihood. And what we need is more people like you bringing it forward to share that professionalism about the expertise when it comes to health, when it comes to mental
Yeah,
stability and things like that. So
thank
you're
you.
definitely giving us something that a lot of people want more of.
Thank you. Yeah, and a big part of that health is community. And I know that was one thing that kind of felt threatened when I went to school and was learning about all these different topics. I thought, what are people going to think if I go back home and I start talking about herbal medicine or nutritional healing, or I don't come from a background where that is widely accepted. If you're
Right.
sick, you go to the doctor, you get a pill, they'll trust them with your body. don't
Right.
don't pay attention to your own self, or don't think about your own intuition. um so yeah, that's just kind of a little bit of a background on how I got into it. And there's so many different facets of body work. So massage therapy is just sort of one piece of a bigger umbrella of body work, and everything that affects your body in a positive way. I would say it could be considered body work, like yoga, breath work, even going to the gym is kind of body work. But in this sense, it's somebody else doing it for you. So massage therapy is someone else working on your body. But I'm also using aromatherapy, and the music that I play is part of that body work. Just every piece that affects your physical being in a positive way is a better explanation of body work.
It's so amazing to hear that because we've come a long way from ointments, and like you mentioned, some people would do band-aids and they do splints, and then again they
Sure.
send you to the physicians to get pills, and
Yeah.
you on your way. And to know that now we can try natural things and
Yeah.
treatments
Absolutely.
that you mentioned with the herbs and things that can definitely do
Yeah.
much more better, probably even more rapidly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to transition into one of Renetta's questions she had here. She asked us to share and mention with you, to you, how do you come up and how did you come up with the name BRBW?
Oh, that it's funny because I'm from Wichita, so I didn't realize Kansas City had a jazz bar, a jazz place called the Blue Room. because I started my business in Wichita, and it was just, I was literally just in a blue room. It's not
Ah,
anything, it wasn't anything creative. I was just like, I need a business name. What am I gonna call it? And I was in this room. It was like this really gorgeous, like dark blue, and I just loved being in there. And I was like, I'm just gonna call it the Blue Room. Blue Room Body Work. Sounds good. Sounds kind of soothing, and then I came up here and I learned about the Blue Room, the jazz place, and I love the history of that. And I was like, I'm just gonna keep it, if no one said anything about it being, you know, too close to something else, or, I didn't steal it from them or anything or try to copy off them, but I definitely support like what the Blue Room represents here. So I feel like, yeah, that's I'm just gonna keep it.
and it works. And that's
It
the thing.
works.
Normally, when you do something like that, when it comes to you, and I believe from the heart, because
Yeah.
blue is my favorite color, that midnight toward. I wanted to ask about, is it something to the blueness? Does that ray gives the body or the mind some peace or
Ooh, that's a great question. Yeah, I do think blue is associated with, a calming feeling in the body. But yeah, I like that it's associated with being a safe space, like the history of the Blue Room, and I hope to be that also. Um, so
you
yeah,
are,
yeah, thank you. Thank you.
you are. And let's be honest, we all had that one you mentioned, not now, but recently back in your history,
Mhm.
one coworker who didn't quite get it emotionally,
Oh,
right?
sure, yeah. Several.
And but the good news is EI isn't just something you're born with. You can develop it over time. What's your thoughts on that one? I saw you
Yeah.
chuckle on it when I said some of those coworkers from time to time don't get it.
Oh my goodness. You know, that's a good question too, because everyone will have to deal with that at some point, and it's never ending. There's so many
Right.
people that I would say probably the majority of people want to have control over a situation more so than they want to connect. And so you just have to, I mean, let them think they have control sometimes, I guess. I don't know, like let it go, really. I mean, you can't get too upset. You have different goals, right? You can't connect with someone who's not trying to connect. They're
That's
just
good.
trying to exert their power or whatever. So,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
yeah, in a work situation, it's always tough. So, because you have to maintain that professionalism and rapport with everybody. So, I know that can be a challenge.
Okay. And Reneta Tyrone put some questions in the chat. I think
Oh yeah.
he's not actually back from his matrix. How
Okay.
would you rate your emotional intelligence from a scale of 1 to 10?
That's a tough one. I don't want to get rate myself too high and say I've got it all figured out, but I will say I asked ChatGPT to rate me on a scale of 1 to 10, and they gave me an 8. So I feel like that's pretty good. I would take that.
And why is that?
I think it said mostly it comes from the desire to connect, not every, like I said, not everybody does have that desire to connect, but when you do have that, you're more likely to listen to what another person is saying because you want to relate to them, and you're not distracted by what you want to say. Like a lot of people are thinking about the next thing when they get to talk, they're going to say this, and they're not really giving the other person space to kind of express themselves because you might say something different based off of if you're really listening to what the other person is telling you. So
Wow, that's good. Sound like a professional to me.
ah,
That's great.
thank
And it's so easy to let emotions take over. You mentioned that, especially in stressful
you. Oh yeah.
situations. I
Yeah.
remember a time when a member seemed disengaged doing meetings. My first reaction, because I respond now, but my first reaction was I was thinking about frustration. But when I took the time to check in private, because
Mhm.
we have breaks and stuff, I found out they were dealing with some things in their
Mhm.
personal space. So
Mhm.
that moment really taught me that, the importance of empathy. You ever had a
Mhm.
moment like that where your thoughts and ideas may have wanted you to go in one direction, but you had an opportunity to realize what was really taking place?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think part of being emotionally intelligent is knowing how you feel at any given moment. So, it's not about suppressing your emotions or not expressing them. So, the more you know how you feel, the more aware you are, the more you're going to feel those feelings quickly. So, like if something's frustrating you, you're going to feel that and you're going to acknowledge it within yourself pretty quickly. But that second step in empathy being, well, let me try to understand, why are they acting like this? That's the part that a lot of people that struggle with emotional intelligence are probably skipping. They're not saying, well, they really upset me. Let me try to figure out what's going on with them before I let them know how much they upset me. But
That's good.
yeah, does that answer that question?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Everything you're saying is powerful. So
Okay. Thank you.
I'm looking at her questions and his questions. And another one was, what's the one advice you can give to someone who's thinking about pursuing a career in massage therapy?
I would say know your worth. What people are willing to pay is what you're worth. Most places you're gonna go work and make a fraction of what you're worth. And also, you got to have good boundaries because a lot of people that go into massage therapy are very kind, sweet people. Uh, you can't be a pushover. Part of knowing your worth is having good boundaries, knowing when to say no, knowing when to fire a client, knowing, what your schedule is. If do you want to work early mornings? Do you work better in the evenings? All of that. So, know your worth and go out and get
That's great. That's a great
it.
answer. Now, did you have a challenge? And I know we're always auditing and editing when it comes to personal and professional, where you
Mm.
have to chop your 24 hours. How was it that you had the strategy to get to yours and that comfort zone being your timeline?
Wait, say that again. Sorry. I don't think I
When
understand.
you're creating the space for your clients and you had to come up with a strategy for what works best for you, the times and the days, was that a difficult challenge to create?
Um, it wasn't too difficult for me. Um, but fortunately I was able to be pretty flexible. And I started my business during COVID when everything was shut down. So we had nothing but time at that time.
Right.
A lot of us did, when those of us who didn't have any work, we were like
Yes,
scrambling, what are we gonna do with ourselves? So yeah, that part wasn't too much of a challenge, fortunately. Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
Exactly. These small shifts on how we respond, whether it's pausing before reacting or showing compassion, can have such a big impact in the workplace dynamic and personally. Understanding people are in pain and being vulnerable with you in such an intimate space. What are your strategies that make it so easy? You make it look so easy.
You mean handling the vulnerability?
Clients, the massage, the
Yeah,
space.
yeah.
Yes,
Um, Firstly, knowing myself and just acknowledging how I feel at any given moment, being self-aware. If I feel uncomfortable, it's a no. If and then holding space for them and how they feel. You can't hold space for other people until you can hold space for yourself. for yourself and hold space. I mean, just acknowledge how you feel. So,
Right.
somebody could come in, oh, I have all this pain, and they're just over the top with it. Um, and you want to kind of acknowledge it, but not, encourage it to get any worse, I guess, but
Right.
give them space to say how they feel. But yeah, I don't know if I answered that right, but starting with acknowledging my own feelings, and then and saying that it's okay, telling myself it's okay to feel that way, practicing that regularly, and then doing it for my clients. How do you feel? You're in pain, or you're sad, or you're this, or you're that. That's okay. Come here. It's okay. It's gonna just, it's gonna be okay.
And that's good where
Yeah.
you can communicate. And that's why we have this platform. Communicating is confident, that you have the confidence and knowing yourself, and you've created the boundaries. I
Yeah.
have a saying that I say almost every day: we have to stand guard at the door of our minds. And so knowing that you can have that boundary and
Hmm.
also professionally
Hmm.
guide them to comfort and
Hmm.
feeling safe as well as
Hmm.
yourself. So that's a great answer, great response.
Yeah.
And
Sorry. Oh, and it's about regulating the emotions too, right? Feeling it and expressing it in in a non-dramatic way, there's places that it's appropriate to be dramatic, you want to be on stage or go play sports or go to the gym or something where you can be loud and do something big. But in a massage situation, it's more about kind of calming down and soothing. And yeah.
that sounds so good that you can have that environment under such, you know, vulnerability. And
Yeah.
then when people are dealing with their self and their
Yeah.
emotions, and sometimes I wanted to go a little deeper here when it comes to emotional intelligence, and I want to mention four co-components of emotional intelligence, how they show up at work and in your personal space.
Mm.
And first up is self-awareness.
Mhm.
Self-awareness is about recognizing your own emotions. You just kind of mentioned that, tapped into it for us, and understanding how they influence your thoughts and your behaviors. How can you expand on that?
Ooh. Could you say that again?
Self-awareness is about
Yeah.
recognizing your own emotions
Yeah.
and understanding how they influence
Yeah.
your thoughts and behaviors.
Yes. It's kind of like what you mentioned earlier about, when someone's kind of frustrating you and you take a minute to acknowledge, like, okay, I feel frustrated. Why do I feel frustrated? Well, because he said something, something, something. But, you taking that minute to be like, okay, well, I don't need to throw a chair across the room or whatever because he frustrated me. I can, or I can take a minute to go figure out why he said what he said, or I can just walk away, whatever I need to do. I don't need to be so I don't need to react to what somebody else did or said. Did that answer the question?
Yes,
Okay,
it's
okay.
about emotional intelligence, and that's what
Yeah,
you just shared with us.
yeah,
And Tyrone posted another question here in the chat, and he
yeah.
he mentioned he goes to Massage Envy, which has a nice seat and massage therapists that are good. What
Uh-huh.
separates you from your competitors?
So I probably have a little bit different view on this than most people, maybe. I don't know. But I don't see myself in competition with anybody else in the same industry as me. I have a lot of friends who do the same thing I do, and you know, some of them have bigger businesses with multiple employees, and some of them are like me, just doing it on their own. And we're just all on our same, or we're all on our different paths. And if somebody's on a path that I'm like, oh, I think I'd rather be on that path, you know, and they're doing something that looks good to me that I think I want to try out or do instead of what I'm doing, I'll go befriend them and learn from them. And and I think that's a better way to network and relate to people versus kind of more of a cutthroat perspective, especially with something like massage therapy. I don't think
Right.
there's any reason to be talking about who's stealing whose clients or this or that. You know, everybody has a different experience to offer clients. And there's so many people in the world, and I believe every single person benefits from massage and body work. And so everyone's a potential client, and there's no shortage of stressed out people. I just don't. I don't see any need to be in competition with. I'd much rather learn from my peers and be friends with them than compete.
I agree, because I've always said it. There's enough for all of us.
Yeah.
There's really, it's enough for all of us, and we're supposed to champion one another. And that's the reason we're so grateful that you're here, because we get to see it and hear it and then experience how you made it to where you are. So thank you for
Yeah,
sharing that. The
absolutely.
next one is self-regulation. That's This one is about managing your emotions, especially in challenging situations. I think you touched it a little bit. Can you expand on that one a little bit more?
Ooh, managing my emotions in challenging situations.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess I just know that it's not going to do me any good to throw things or have a temper tantrum. I'm definitely not going to get what I want that way. And it's a lot more fun for me to just relate to people as another human. Like it's a lot more productive to relate. It's kind of like going into a restaurant or something and being mad at the waiter because the food's not ready fast enough. It's like they're not the ones cooking the food or bringing the food. Like they're just doing their job. I've had
Right.
jobs where, I can't accomplish the goals in a timely manner too. It wasn't my fault. It's not their fault, what in the grand scheme of things,
That's
uh
a great attitude. That's a
it's
great
not,
approach.
yeah.
I
It's not.
wish we could have it that way with most people, because that is
Oh,
really
man.
what we need
I
more
know.
of.
I understand. They need massages. That's what I always say. I always think,
That's what they say.
yeah. When
I would
people
have
are
to agree with you. I
cranky or
would have to
something.
agree with you,
Uh-huh. They need
because
it.
that's definitely what we need. We want to make sure that we are using what works. And then the thing for me is just, what do we bring to the environment? Because it could be a little noisy, and
Yeah.
then it's about what do we bring that
Yeah.
can level the playing field, or so to speak,
Hmm.
make the place a little more special. A great
Hmm.
tool that I use is deep breathing.
Hmm.
If you feel yourself getting worked up, take a moment to inhale for a few
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
that's
one of the
body
things
work.
I consider.
Yeah. And that's body work too. You're doing it to yourself.
Yes, and I think when you have your clients, that's something they leave with. You leave them with information that they can use when they go out
I
of your
tried to.
space.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, moving on to empathy would be the next one, which is about understanding and sharing the feelings of others. This is a huge place or opportunity in the workplace, especially in the workplace, for building trust with others and your team.
Absolutely.
Can you touch on that for a moment?
Man, that's huge. That's the biggest thing, right? I feel like that's the biggest thing lacking in the world today. It's all about self-promotion and who can you step on to get ahead. And I think at the end of the day, it's gonna be who shows you empathy is who you want to spend time with. And that's what motivates me to keep doing what I do, is that it's so powerful. And there's been so many times in my life where I needed that connection, and I just felt whatever situation I was in, it was not there. And when I could find it again, it's so healing.
It
Empathy.
is.
It is. And like you said, builds trust. You can't
It
trust
is.
somebody if they don't seem to be able to empathize with you.
Right. And I know having people see it from your perspective,
Mm-hmm.
and also being heard, not just
Yes.
saying I understand it, but really being
Yes.
heard.
Absolutely.
And finally, social skills. This is where everything comes together. Effective communication, conflict resolution,
Mm-hmm.
and teamwork. We kind of
Mm.
touched on a lot of it. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Hmm. Yeah.
Effective communication,
Yeah.
conflict resolution, and teamwork.
I think empathy is a big piece to all of that. And I think that we're starting to acknowledge that more, because I don't remember growing up ever even hearing that word, or really knowing how to recognize empathy. Um, and um, I don't think true teamwork and true relationships um, are possible without it.
Right.
So I hope that it
And
continues to
yeah,
become a popular topic, that we talk about it more and we get better at it.
I think even when you mentioned about COVID, it helped us begin to use these computers a little bit different. And we had a lot of empathy for those. We had a little hiccup here with connectivity for Tyrone, and we still support each other. We can use the phones, we can use the messengers. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where we show that we do have empathy, because sometimes we do have technical issues, but the show
Mm-hmm.
must go on. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That
Yeah.
is important. Empathy. We don't talk about it a lot. And it starts early.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can get it early, you can help make the world better around you and others. So that's a
Mm-hmm.
good one. One of the tips here that I practice,
Mm-hmm.
and you tapped into it as well, is active listening.
Mm-hmm.
And that means giving someone your full attention.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people crave nourishment, context, and connection. So
Absolutely.
what inspired you to believe in yourself, Angela?
Mm-hmm.
And how did you give yourself permission to do what you're doing?
Mm. That's a good question. Um, well, like you just said, that how important active listening is. And I agree with you. And just knowing that, I think that having those types of connections with other people who also value the same things as I do is what gave me the motivation and inspiration to do what I do, because I know I value those things, connection, empathy. And I think that's what you get out of massage more than just massage. It is mental and emotional as well. It's not just physical healing. And you get what you want out of it. Not everybody goes to a massage and they're looking for that connection and that empathy. But I think it's usually available from a massage therapist. Um, so just knowing that, those are the parts of massage that are most valuable to me. But for some people, I think it is just physical, and that's totally okay too. But I think that no matter what you're going for, you're gonna get something valuable out of it. And so that makes it almost impossible for me not to offer it.
That's great.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
for
you.
sharing that. And before we wrap up, we got some tips and boost emotional intelligence, things that works. Like we mentioned, practice self-awareness. One
Mhm.
of the things I think, and you can add to these if you want, is journaling
Mhm.
or reflecting daily on how emotions influence your actions. particularly in some situation. We all can do that if we just really reflect each day. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that reminder. I do journal here and there, but I think I could afford to do it a little bit more often. I think that would be
Me too.
beneficial. Yeah. Thank
You
you.
know, we don't look, you're welcome. We don't look at ourselves. We don't look at our days enough. I think we need
Mhm.
to kind of reflect just in order to tomorrow I can be better in this space or this situation,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so much to
Another
learn.
one,
Yeah.
go ahead about learning, because I
Oh, so
definitely
much
want
to
to
learn
learn.
from ourselves. Yeah, to reflect back on what we had written in previous, journal entries.
Right. And
Yeah.
I know Oprah talks about it a lot. It's something I recently started a couple of years ago, but when you really look at the way you were thinking or the way you did
Yes.
something, or and you can now say, I can really edit this and
Yes.
become better in this space, right?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Another one was pause before reacting. And that's
Hmm.
about taking a deep breath. We mentioned breathing. When
Hmm.
we feel triggers, that's one thing I think I heard in the last few years, that, we all have triggers.
Hmm.
They can be from way back, or they can be something that happened a week ago, or even once you understand that you have them, how to now recognize them.
Yeah,
What are your thoughts
absolutely.
on triggers?
Absolutely. Yeah. Triggers are tough because it kind of makes us, it's like a little bit of an overreaction because it's like a painful point, like a little bit more painful than anything else. Um, and yeah, I guess that's just something we have to kind of a point we have to work on a little bit more, give
Right,
ourselves a little bit more love in those
right,
deeper wounds.
right.
Yeah.
That's one thing we're missing from the world, more love. So you definitely
Yeah,
hit one there.
I agree.
And and again, we talked about showing empathy, about sometimes even if you get an opportunity, asking open-ended questions, and then
Hmm.
listening more effectively, which you said something that stood out. Like I mentioned to a lot of people when I try to encourage, inspire, and uplift, is
Yeah.
practice,
Practice listening.
right?
Yeah. You got to do it repeatedly, huh?
Right.
That's a good point. Yeah. It's so simple, but it is profound. You practice it every
And that
time
means
someone's talking.
yep, you got to stop yourself and you got to hold yourself still,
Yeah.
because you may have a thought, but you're not listening if you're letting the thoughts take over.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that.
Last on this list, me too, improving social skills. And that's about focusing on collaboration and clear communication. And that's another reason you're here as well. You want to
Yeah.
expand on that one a little bit?
Ooh, I don't know. I'm not any kind of expert on social skills. I feel like COVID made me very awkward. I feel like I used to be an extrovert and then I became an introvert. And so I still have, I'm still awkward sometimes, but I mean, I think just having the intention to connect with people, I think people love that when they see that and they can pick up on that. I think they're relieved and they feel immediately more comfortable and willing to connect with you.
I love it when you said the intention
Yeah.
on connecting with people. You know how
Yeah.
powerful that is, just hearing it. Imagine knowing it and then being able to express it. But that's
Yeah.
powerful. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Intention is really, really important.
Yeah.
Remembering emotional intelligence isn't about being perfect. We know that. It's about being intentional. Wow, you just said it. Start small and build from there. We hope you've learned something valuable about emotional intelligence and how it can transform your workplace and your personal life. And Angela, I would love to end with your advice to those seeking entrepreneurship
Oh,
who really want to express their passion in business.
yes.
How do they get started? And what advice would you share?
Yes. So I don't feel like I'm any kind of expert on this, but I mean, I guess I am doing it, so I can tell you what I think would be valuable. And it goes back to some of the things we already were discussing. I think the first thing is knowing yourself, knowing your triggers, um, so that you can't be manipulated, because you're going to get hit with all kinds of ads and people trying to sell you stuff, and you're going to want to go big and put on, make everything look beautiful before you really have a good mode of income. You might not even have the income going yet, but you want everything to look nice, and you're going to spend all this money on that. And I would recommend not doing that. I would recommend focusing on your relationships, networking. Make sure you have a good income before you start spending money on updating material and equipment and stuff like that. Get educated about money without becoming obsessed and greedy. But just learn how much you're gonna need. Make sure you have that before you don't want to go all out with your spending. You want to go kind of, I mean, this is what I would do. That's what I did.
Right.
Just start small, be modest with it. That's how I go. That's how I do it. But I mean, some people want to go big and they have the means and the resources to do that. So that's great for them. But if I were to give somebody advice, I would say start small, go with what you know, network, relationships. Those are the most important things. People buy from you because they know you and they love you and you have a good product. And not because
You are the
everything.
brand.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, know
You are the
yourself.
brand.
Yeah, know your triggers. Don't spend more than you're making. So I don't know. I don't know what else to say,
That's
but
good.
yeah.
Thank you.
Connections, relationships. Yeah.
So Reneta or Tyrone, do y'all have any other questions that you like to pose or present?
No, that's excellent information. And again, thank you so very much for being on the podcast with us. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Reneta. We definitely
Thank
praying
you,
for you.
Reneta.
We know you're gonna be healing real quick. And Tyrone, if you're in there, message, if you want to say anything or give it to Reneta. Angela, anything else you can say that we may have missed that you really wanted to share with us? Because I remember some history I mentioned to you that we didn't get to post on the emails we sent out to the guests. So anything else you want to say or share that,
Some
let's
history.
say the history on therapy and how you got started with your business? You had a page in your previous website.
Oh yeah. Well, all my back history. That's a lot. That's a lot of stuff.
Well, the one about the ancient times with you mentioned with
I
the
mean,
different
massage.
aromas
Oh
and
yeah,
things like
massage.
that.
It's been around for a long time. I mean, and this is the old school way of doing things, and medicinal herbs. That's the original medicine, right? Is going out in the garden and making your own medicine. That's the ancient original way of healing ourselves. I think a lot of stuff, I think a lot of ailments that we have now and diseases are are could be cured by removing things from our diet and our
Right.
environment versus adding more stuff to what we're consuming. I think we need to consume less. We'd be a lot healthier.
That's
And
true.
natural is
That's,
the way to go.
Yeah, I agree.
Go ahead, Reneta.
I was saying that is true. And Angela, so when are you moving to High Point, North Carolina?
I'm not moving to High Point, North Carolina.
No, I'm giving you a hint to move to High Point, North Carolina, so we
Oh,
can utilize your services.
I've
Oh, that's
never
right.
been
Reneta
there.
is she's in North Carolina.
Oh,
Sorry.
she lives there. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Ooh, I might come visit. Actually, I had a girlfriend just come through town moving to North Carolina.
That's good.
What's it like
Well,
out there? Have you been, Anthony?
I have not been. I've been to North Carolina. I had a cousin who was in the Marines long years ago when I was a field service engineer and I used to
Okay.
travel. And he
Okay.
invited me to come out there, but that's been years ago.
Is he still around?
He's in Atlanta now. He lives in Atlanta.
Okay.
Him and
Okay.
his family moved to Atlanta when they retired.
Okay. I'm looking at pictures of it now. It looks pretty.
It is. It's right on the water.
Oh,
Right on the water. I mean, where he lives, the ocean is right behind his house when I went visit.
nice. Beautiful.
So
Oh, I
yes,
see a question I didn't answer. Have you ever felt bad when you had to refuse service? Do you want me to answer that?
yes.
Oh, okay, sorry. It's so rare. It's so rare that that happens. But if it does, I think I'm gonna feel even worse if I do something that I don't feel good about doing. So, it's you gotta weigh the pros and cons. But yeah, I would feel bad, but at the same time, like if I feel like I need to do it, I'm gonna do it. Refuse it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I've heard that quote before where it says never minimize your values.
Oh, I like that.
That's good.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go to the point where we hope you enjoyed this episode,
Yes,
Angela.
of course.
And we want the guests and everyone, and even you, Angela, we'll be sending out an email.
Okay.
And please leave us a review
Of
and
course.
share it with your friends. And
Yeah.
don't forget to send your questions or
Yeah.
additional stories. We may feature them in a future podcast episode.
Okay.
So we want to thank you so very much for listening. And we'll see you next time, to be continued. And we
Okay.
want to say take care. If there's anything else you'd like to say before we close.
I do have one more thing. I just want to remind you how valuable it is for people to see you practicing active listening. And it's healing. It really is. And the better we're able to do that, the better we're able to heal each other.
Thank you for that, Angela. And I'm going to definitely receive it in my heart. And I will practice more and more each and every day with each and every individual that
Yeah.
I come in contact with. So I receive that.
Yeah. Thank you.
But
so
we're going to let you have a wonderful rest of your day. I do not want to end this call, but I have to respect you and your time. It's so
Thank you.
precious to be with you. I can't say thank you enough.
Thank
I
you.
can't say how welcome we are and appreciative and how grateful we are for seeing you and for you expressing your gift and sharing it with us. So
I'm excited to
you.
see your next podcast.
All right.
All
It'll
right.
definitely be, because what we're going to be doing, we send out messages to people we've interviewed, and we do share that with you. So you'll see the next one that's coming up. And if you'd like to come in as a guest and just listen in, or if
Okay.
you have questions, you can present those as well.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome, and thank you, and
Thank
have a great rest of your week.
You too. Thank you.
Be in touch.
Okay. Chat soon.
Bye-bye.